Good morning, it's Ariana Newcomer. This is Wisdom Wednesdays, and I'm Dove Oracle Priestess. And my topic today is about trauma, loss, and addiction. We were talking about trauma in the Wise Woman Immersion group yesterday, and this came up with several other clients recently. Good part of the work that I do with people is helping to heal these old traumas that we have that are really continuing to affect us into our lives. And I was asking this question, okay, why do we do these things that we know aren't necessarily healthy or happy or good for us? And an article came through. I subscribe to something called The Optimist, which is my happy news every day. And they reposted this article about Gabor Maté, who is a physician who has done a lot of work with addiction. And I have had to deal with addiction in my own life within my own family. I have a son who was addicted to opioids and then to heroin for a while, and I'm very, very grateful to say that he is now 2 years plus off and back in school, and he's been public about it, so I'm able to share this with you. That was an incredibly, incredibly traumatic time when he was going through that, and our culture has so much judgment about addicts and addiction. And the truth is that we all have many addictions, and some of them are quite small, like to coffee or to having that wine with dinner. Even though, we might have a bad reaction to the coffee, or having that piece of bread when our digestive system really doesn't want to have gluten in it. So it's a very, very human thing. And I found that I could not do the traditional cultural way of thinking when my own son was going through this addiction to heroin and trying to get himself out of it. And I found that I really had to continue to be loving and available to him. And I couldn't do just let him go down to the bottom by himself. He has to bottom out and find his own way back. And have this judgment that this is just a choice, that addicts are choosing this. And what really allowed my son to come through was me continuing to be available to him while holding certain boundaries, and also continuing to say, because he wanted to quit and it was very, very difficult. And I continued to say to him, okay, what support do you need that you haven't gotten yet? There is a way through. We just haven't found it yet. Let's keep looking. Let's keep trying. And eventually I found some nutrition protocols. There was a great book called End Your Addiction Now, which gives particular nutrition protocols for particular addictions. And that really, really helped him finally be able to stay off, in addition to having my ongoing continued support, rather than just pushing him away and saying, you're broken, you're wrong, you're bad. So withholding love is one of the things that we do to addicts that really has a very negative effect and can prevent them from actually healing. So some of the things that Gabor Maté talks about is that addiction generally originates in a person's need to solve a problem, which is a deep-seated problem usually arising from our early years, that has to do with trauma and loss. And what we crave is this escape from this emotional pain. We crave peace of mind, a sense of control, and a feeling of happiness. And our addictions tend to give us that temporary relief. And this is an essential thing to understanding addiction, is that it is not in itself the problem. It's an attempt to solve a problem. Our birthright as human beings is to be happy, he says, and the addict just wants to be a human being. So an addictive behavior, though damaging in the medium or long term, can save you in the short term. So the primary drive is to regulate your situation to something more bearable. So we all have brains that do this. We all as human beings do this. We do all kinds of things. We might binge watch a TV show. We might over-exercise. We might read. We might lose ourselves in books. And those may be more healthy ways of trying to bring ourselves back to our feeling of happiness than taking heroin. But they kind of have the same origin. So we all have these tendencies. And having the consciousness is so important. So being a conscious human being is work. It's really work. And yet when we do this work, when we cultivate this self-awareness and we look inside and we continue to look inside and we continue to do our inner work, then we can really become woke. We can wake up, become, and be able to address those traumatic issues from childhood that are leaving us vulnerable to these addictions, whatever they are, in whatever way they show up for us in our lives. But treating ourselves with love and treating each other with love is extremely important. And you may have heard me talk about partnership before, but I work with Riane Eisler's concepts of partnership, and that's part of what I teach my clients and students. And the foundation of partnership is to be in partnership with ourselves. And I was able to be in partnership with my son and help him through his addiction. And he actually did it himself, as he was willing to be self-aware and to take a look at things and to take the nutritional supplements that I gave him based on these protocols from the book, End Your Addiction Now. So we really need to have that sense of partnership, and it begins here with ourselves. And let's let go as a culture of this judgment that addiction is a choice. It's a lifestyle choice, and that people who are addicts are just morally inadequate, morally wrong. In my own experience, that just is not the case. I have other friends who have had addicts in their families, and it's incredibly painful, but we make it more painful by holding this negative judgment that it's just a moral failing and they could stop if only they would. So we have to have that awareness. We have to be in partnership. We have to hold the person in love. We have to hold ourselves in love. Hold ourselves in love. This is the really, really critical piece. And being able to address those traumatic childhood issues, we have to be willing to go into that pain. And one of the things that we do in numbing out by taking substances, alcohol, herbs, drugs, is to numb out and to not have to feel the pain, because we think it's going to be overwhelming and we think it's never going to end. There's no way through. And the truth is there is a way through. And the way through may be different for you and me and my son and my clients and students, a different thing because we had different traumatic experiences as we grew. But having that awareness with love within ourselves and being willing to actually look at the pain allows us to address the issue and then create the shifts that we need in order to actually be happy, to be able to release these temporary things that we've been using to make ourselves feel better and to come to that deeper, truer happiness that allows us to really, really live the lives that we are meant to live. And this kind of work also helps us become communally aware of the collective psyche, of what's gone wrong with our humanity, and to be able to look at that and begin to correct that as well. So when we do this inner work, it makes us much more able to then do this larger work in the world and shift the entire culture. So I hope you will join me in shifting this particular perspective about addiction. And so let's do our healing together. And if you are interested in doing some healing work with me, I have a special going right now through the holidays, a special price for 1 hour online Zoom sessions like this with me, which are very powerful and helpful. So I look forward to working with you if that is in your path, and wishing you blessings on this Wednesday. And I'm still giving gratitude here in California for the rain. I'm looking out my office window at rain. Thank you.